What's up, everybody? The Bearded Prepper coming to you. I am here in a city setting, but I'm going to show you how to find food anywhere you go. Most people will walk right past food every day, even in an urban setting, and not realize it. Stick with me, I'll show you a few things. Here we are with this little side park just filled with serviceberry trees. For those of you who don't know what serviceberries are, it's kind of like a small tree. Sometimes they'll get about twice this big, and they have these tiny berries that usually ripen in May, called serviceberries. Some people call them Saskatoon berries, some June berries, because some places they ripen in June. You can see that one's turning red. They'll actually turn blue once they're completely ripe, and they'll get about the size of a blueberry. And as you can see, just one tree is loaded down with them. So if you add up all these trees in this little park, it'll be a ton of serviceberries here in about a month coming in. And there's even a little wild cherry tree over there that'll come in later. And that's all just within the first few steps. Of course, there's the obligatory mention of wild edibles like clover, plantains, dandelions, all within a few steps. There's always wild edibles everywhere, even in the city. So while I'm walking between locations here in the city, the number one thing you always want to be mindful about in any kind of urban setting with this many people around is your safety. Always, you don't have to be paranoid, but be aware of what's going on around you. And if you can, don't move around in dark hours. Stay in populated areas. But, if you find yourself living or stranded in an urban setting, this video is important because you need to realize there's food all around you. Even if you're, not out on your own in a remote setting, or, with your preps, if you get stuck somewhere, you'll at least know where to go to get something to get you by on or survive on. So here I've stepped just off the sidewalk, Main Street over there, right onto a college campus. One thing that most people don't realize is that college campuses are covered up with fruit-bearing trees and different edibles that oftentimes just go to waste. As a matter of fact, on this university, I've made friends with some of the groundskeepers before, and they've told me half of their job in the summer is just raking up fallen fruit and throwing it in the trash can. Such a waste. Let's explore this campus to see what we can find. Here is the lettuce flower. Whole crop of daylilies. And I actually found another location with probably 20 times this many daylilies. Right next to that is a tree loaded down, or trees loaded down with plums. And in the same little area, we have apple trees that have already blossomed to have green apples on them. And right next to that, we have a pear tree loaded down with green pears. And right there on the other side of the wall is an Italian fig bush that's just starting to put out. And then of course next to that and the other apple trees is the elderberry starting to put out. Just in this one little space, there's so much food that's going to be coming in throughout the year, because see, they all come in at the same time. You've got the plums, then the figs, then the pears, and after that will come the apples. And of course the daylilies are blooming prolifically right now, so beyond wild edibles, you have all this food that's going to be coming in throughout the summer. And of course, beyond the figs, you've got grapevines that are going to make grapes. And you already have little blueberries. There's one that's blooming after this one. It's a different variety, so it'll come after this one. And yeah, that one doesn't look so hot, but there's a little blueberry bush there too. Here are some cherry trees that are putting out cherries, and of course peach trees loaded with peaches that'll come later this summer. And then more sour cherry trees that are starting to get ready to produce fruit, or have produced fruit. It's just not ripe yet. And you can see this one here, it's just loaded down with cherries. Everywhere you look, there's more apple trees. Over there, some peach trees, just covered in little green fruit that's going to ripen throughout the summer. There is a persimmon tree. And down here, this whole lower level is nothing but established cherry trees. A pear tree, an apple tree, 2 apple trees, and then several smaller apple trees up and coming. Of course, later in the year, there's a gigantic black walnut tree. As aggravating as they are to get into and pick out, it's still nutrition. Very nutritious nuts if you can get them out of the shells. And talk about serviceberry trees. This entire walkway is covered in serviceberry. Granted, they only make in the spring, but you can preserve these. You can dehydrate these, reconstitute them later. Jams, jellies, breads, whatever. If you're hungry, it's still food. So this is only maybe 1/10 of the serviceberry trees that are on this campus. There's another area that has about 10 times this much just in one location. Here are more daylilies that are late bloomers, so you can capture the nutrition of the early bloomers, and then this variety comes in probably within the next month. Just an endless supply of greens. Actually, this entire plant is edible, even the leaves and the roots. So this is a huge source of greens here. Here are more plum trees. It's got a good many green plums on it, followed by 3 big fig bushes that are just starting to put out. It's a nice pear tree. Makes, I think, Boss pears. I don't know if you can notice, but there's a lot of small pears already on it. It's going to be loaded down this year. And then there's this little apple orchard right in the middle, just loaded down with apples that are getting bigger by the day. And then there's also a little pear tree here. It's the green pears here actually, and they're starting to grow. So lots of pears that are coming along. All right, so look, I'm not just going to keep going on and on, but this little garden here is surrounded by cherry trees, full of green cherries, grapevines, apple trees, 1, 2, 3 more fig bushes, another sour cherry over there, and another apple tree. It's just crazy how much food is here. And all of this within less than a quarter-mile walk from where I started, and all within, I'm going to say 7 to 10 minutes walk at a leisurely pace, just looking around at what's with you. Most people don't even realize this food's here. So just because you're in an urban setting doesn't mean that you can't find food. I suggest that you prepare yourself by knowing what you can and can't eat. And sorry for the background noise, there's a field trip here full of kids. So know what you can and can't eat. That way, even if you get stranded in an urban setting, you can always find food. And like I said, this is literally steps off of the path. Anywhere there are gardens or something like an institution, like a university, you can find food. So until next time, I want you to be prepared. Know your Lord and Savior. Realize that your preps are not just about what you put back, it's about what you know. So until next time, God bless. Be prepared. I'm the Bearded Prepper, signing off.